What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. I'm laughing because just as we were getting started on the show, this started to do this. So if this happens, whoop, there you go. But it's back up. As always, Philly with John Marks, brought to you by BetParx. As we're live on a Wednesday morning, Draft Eve, the NFL Draft Eve, and we have Fran Duffy, Fran the man with the master plan. He's coming up in about 25 minutes. We'll get into now he's got to put his picks out. Like no more fooling around, none of that. I want to know who he believes the Eagles are going to select. Are they trading out? Are they moving up? Are they staying put? All of Fran's insights coming up here in about 25 minutes. Shout out to everybody that watching live on YouTube, our 8 a.m.ers. Every morning live at 8 a.m. Philly with John Marks. Getting involved in the show, getting involved in the live chat. Thank you very much. Good morning, guys. And if you're watching the show at a later time, that's perfectly awesome with me. Just make sure you're liking and subscribing and you're commenting. Comment, since you can't get involved in the live chat, but comment in what we're talking about on the program, as we have a lot to talk about today. And I am like, it's a gut punch with what's going on with the Phillies right now. Now, I also realize that we're in April. It's early. Tyler's early. It's early. I know it's early. It doesn't make watching these games any easier right now. As the Phillies lose to the Mets last night, it was another lifeless performance. The reality is the Mets are just better than the Phillies right now, and it's not even close. There's no getting around it. The Mets are just a better team right now. They were at the end of last season. There's an energy with the Mets. There's a confidence with the Mets, in particular when they're playing the Phillies. But the Mets now have won 6 straight games. They're looking for a sweep of the Phillies this afternoon. The Phillies, who started 8-2, are now 13-11 and are 4 games behind the Phillies in the NL East. John Kruk said last night on the postgame show, how will the Phillies ever make up that gap with 130-some games left to play? And he's right, but it doesn't mean that we can't feel the way we feel right now. It's like my wife always says to me, you can't tell me I can't feel the way I want to feel, right? These are my feelings. I'm pretty down right now. Another bad offensive night, another night of untimely hitting, another night of misery as a Phillies fan. The offense consistently fails with runners on base, chases balls out of the strike zone in big situations. Timely hitting is a buzzword that's used a lot here on Philly with John Marks and the PHLY Philly show. Timely hitting. There is no timely hitting with this team. Trea Turner and Nick Castellanos are driving me nuts right now. Last night was a tough game to watch. Bryce Harper's average is down to, I think, 253. Trea Turner's at 250. Outside of Bryson Stott, who has been lighting it up at the top of the lineup, and Alec Boehm actually has a 9-game hitting streak now, and he had 2 hits last night. This is a really, really difficult team to watch right now. And to top it all off, my guy, your guy, Tyler's guy, Chris Sanchez was laboring last night. The velocity was down. It took him a ton of pitches to get out of the first and second inning. And then he doesn't come out for the third. And it's like, oh, crap. He didn't give up 10 runs. He didn't have 100 pitches. It's like, well, this is trouble. After the game, Rob Thomson said the team isn't expecting structural damage in Sanchez's arm, but they will know more today if further testing is necessary. Forearm stiffness for Chris Sanchez. It's not good. They can say it's not that big of a deal. They can whatever, right? I hope that's the case. But anytime you lose velocity and you have stiffness in the pitching arm, whether it's a shoulder, an elbow, a forearm, not good news. Now, the bright side of that is Ranger Suarez is close to coming back. He's going to have one more rehab start. He pitched very effectively last night, 5 shutout innings. He's been sharp in his minor league rehab, so he could very much be back in the rotation as soon as next week. So losing Sanchez, if that indeed is the case, the starting pitching is still very good. This friggin' offense, man. And even though you're, 24 games into the season, I know it's April, it's early. I can only react to what I've seen based on last year and based on this year. They're under 500 if you go in the last 100 games. And is this something that we expect to just turn around based on what we saw the last half of last season and this season? I mean, here's what I think. When the Phillies play mediocre to bad teams, when it starts to get a little bit warmer out and it becomes hitting season, and we're getting in there right now, the Phillies offense is going to look good. When they're playing teams and playing pitchers and they're hitting home runs, this offense is going to look great, and we're going to be talking ourselves into saying, hey, this is a World Series team. And when they're playing the better starting pitchers, they're playing the Mets, who have good starting pitching, they're not going to be as potent. And when they're not hitting home runs, they really struggle to score runs. Guess what? When you face good starting pitching, that tends to happen across all the teams in Major League Baseball. So, you obviously can't freak out right now, but you can also look at it and say, yeah, this team has flaws. And the question marks we had heading into the season, outside of maybe Bryson Stott, I mean, do we feel any better about the question marks? The bullpen hasn't been good. Kerkering, who I used to get crushed by people when I would say I don't trust Kerkering, and I've been saying it since last year, he didn't look good last night. He hasn't been great in high leverage situations. I'm not going to go overboard, but the bullpen continues to not be great. So outside of the starting pitching, which has been very good, just a difficult team to watch. And they are now a game away this afternoon from being swept by the Mets. And the Braves started out the season poorly. You wish you could get a little bit of distance between them, but now you're only 2 games over 500. So Rob Thomson on the hot seat, Rob Thomson this, Rob Thomson that. I don't know, but at some point you got to look at this lineup and look at these high-priced veterans and say hey, Trea Turner, yo man, what are you doing? 0 for 4 last night with a strikeout. His average is down to 250. Bryce Harper's cold right now. Nick Castellanos, hot and cold, streaky. Last week I was being told I'm a loser for saying that Nick Castellanos hasn't had a great year and calling him streaky. He's streaky. JT Realmuto had a hit last night, but still, man, just looks like a shell of himself from what we've seen 2 seasons ago. And actually, Rojas has been all right as far as batting in that 9 hole. And Bohm's gotten a little bit warmer. But it is just, you hope it's one of these stretches, and you're going to be playing the Cubs. You have the off day tomorrow. You're going to be playing the Cubs for a weekend series. And the Cubs are a good team this season. So try to ride it out, Tyler Zulli, and just hope that they can turn it around here. Because, they lose today, they're a game over 500. The season's not over. Mentally, as a Phillies fan, I feel like that we've already had a couple of these games this year where it's damn, I need a win. And I need a win this afternoon for sure. Good morning, Tyler.
Yeah, good morning to you as well. I think that's a fair way to look at it. I think there have been quite a few games already in a 25-game sample size where it's the Phillies really need this one. You brought up Trea Turner, and the bulk of the lineup has been problematic. We could talk about Aaron Nola's starts. We've done it. We could talk about the bullpen. We've done it. We could talk about the center field position. We've done it. All of those things have merit to being problematic. And you brought up Rojas, who I think his at-bats have been much better as of late. But I think all of those things have been problematic. But the turn to me over the last couple of games specifically is the fact that it was the bulk of the lineup, the guys that you're paying big-time money to, your 2, 3, 4, and 5 hitters, between Trea Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and Nick Castellanos. Last night they were 1 for 14. Game one, they were 1 for 14. The 4 guys are 2 for 28 in this series so far. They've been on base about 6 times because of walks, but they're 2 for 28 in this series so far. That's problematic.
Not going to win a lot of games doing that. Outside of the 9th inning 2 games ago, the offense has been non-existent. The portion of this program brought to you by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com, 610-980-4000. Our live chatters are at it this morning. I see Fit Dad CEO's back from Disney, and I noticed some of his tweets last night, and very down on the Phillies. So here's my question, right? Would we all agree that the Phillies were looking to make some changes to the lineup last year, maybe changes to the clubhouse chemistry and dynamic, changes to, all right, maybe we're one-dimensional as a team offensively. right? Like, Tyler, you would agree that the Phillies this all season were probably trying to make a move or two, but at least one move to kind of change things up. And they brought in Kepler, but that's not really, that doesn't change the fabric and the chemistry of the dynamic of the lineup. They didn't. So they were trying to do it for a reason. They come out in 2025 and you see a lot of what you saw last year, which is just futility.
Yeah, I think, I kind of laid this out the other day. They didn't have a lot of options. Monetarily, they were pretty cash strapped.
Oh, for sure.
So the only options really that they had were Bohm, Marsh, Stott, Rojas, like the guys that are making not sizable money right now, or maybe Ranger, but whatever the case may be, like you were pretty limited on who you could move. And I think the Bohm conversation was real. The trade conversations were real. I think people the Phillies did have interest in potentially moving him if the price in return was right. And I don't think other teams matched what the Phillies were looking for. And so they said, all right, we've got maybe he's not an all-star. Maybe the first half of the year was a little bit more of a playing over his head than what he actually is. But we've got a guy who hits gap to gap well. We've got a guy who drives runs in. He plays baseline defense. And he's cheap. And so we're going to roll with Alec Bohm. And I think it made sense because they did not get the return that they were looking for. Yeah. I think when it comes to Brandon Marsh, they did. I don't know if anybody wanted him, quite frankly. And the rest and I think Bryson Stott clearly still had value to this team. And you're seeing it now that, especially since he's moved to the top of the lineup, he's been one of the few guys that has produced. He's hitting over 300. His at-bats at the top of the lineup have been really good over the last week or a week and a half at this point. I don't think there was a lot of movement available for this team unless they were going to settle for less than what they were asking for Alec Bohm, and I don't think they ever were going to. So
no,
I think people have a right to be frustrated that they ran it back from a team that really struggled down the stretch last year, was 40-40 and floundered in the NLDS. And also I think we have to understand there really wasn't a lot of flexibility to make those moves in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You weren't going to trade just to make a trade, even though, like right now, you kind of wish that you did. But you're not going to just trade Bohm because you have to replace him. And I still think Bohm's a good player. But like if the same thing happens this year that happened last year and the year before, now are you going to make a trade, right? And just one more thing, because I've seen a lot of this, because the bullpen, and you see what Jeff Hoffman's doing up there in Toronto, he's mowing people down just like he did here. And some other moves. Remember the whole, and Juan Soto has had no impact on this series. I don't even think he has a hit. But like the moves that Phillies fans wanted Dave Dombrowski to make, and I've seen a lot of John Middleton slander. And since the offense has struggled and since the bullpen really hasn't been good. And it's like, hey folks, Phillies have the 4th highest payroll in baseball. The Blue Jays have the 5th. Phillies are spending $40 million more than the 5th highest. So really, you have the top 4 in baseball. They're on par with the Yankees and the Mets, and the Dodgers outspend everybody. And they also have a lot of deferred contracts. John Middleton should be applauded, not killed. The Phillies are spending a ton of money. They very easily could say, hey, listen, we're not going to spend in the luxury tax. Like, they have more than enough payroll to build a team that can win a World Series. Don't kill the owner. This is not the owner's problem. This is the GM's problem. This is the president of baseball operations problem. Dave Dombrowski, that he has a bullpen that looks like this right now. So, like, this is not an ownership issue. John Middleton has given the Phillies more than enough money. They have spent a ton of money the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think with the money spending, like, I think to me, John Middleton and the ownership group, I don't think they care about the luxury tax. I mean, I think to an extent they do, obviously.
Right.
They don't want to spend $1 billion, but I don't think they care about the luxury tax paying that tax threshold as much as I do think they care about what the draft compensation move ends up being, right? They were a few $1 million away from that first round pick dropping 10 spots in the draft. And I don't think they wanted to go to that point. I don't think it's a monetary thing that they didn't spend more money. I think it's a draft pick thing. And you can maybe say that's short-sighted, like do you care about moving from 26 to 36 or whatever the case may be. But I do think that has validity to it, where I'm not going to sit here and say they are just foolish with their money, but I don't think they care about going over the luxury tax for a team that should be able to compete. I do think it's the longer-term draft pick implications that have held them up from spending any further, because they've gone from $190 million to $280 million in the last 4 years. They have a willingness to spend money. Maybe the allocation of resources hasn't been in the best places, or it hasn't worked out where they thought it would work out, but I don't think it has anything to do with them not wanting to spend money. They've clearly been willing to spend money.
Yeah. And the Chris Sanchez, the starting pitching still going to be good, Chris Sanchez or not Chris Sanchez. I don't want to go nuts because maybe this just is just forearm tightness. He'll be fine. Maybe he skips a start or whatever. I can't tell you the last time that a pitcher has had forearm tightness that I can remember, and everything's been just totally peachy afterwards. So this is a major kick in the gut. It sucks right now. It does. And like you look at Lindor and the impact that, remember, his Mets career started off really bad. Really bad. He's made a major impact over the course of, I don't even know how long it's been, but this series in particular, Vientos was great, has been great again, killing the Phillies. So you're getting veteran impact players that are making a difference. So here's my last question about the Phillies. When you lose games, the body language, the energy is not going to be there. I know that. It's not fun losing. But does this look like a team that plays with an edge or has this energy? Or is kind of right now just going through the motions?
Well, they rolled over last night. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, man. But all right, because they right now they're playing with low confidence and and this happens over the course of a season. So I don't necessarily want to make a big deal of it just to make a big deal of it because they're losing games. I guess my question is, does this look like, just based on what we've seen so far this year and the energy and just is this a stale team that desperately needs some type of a bump? With Joe Girardi, I remember Ken Rosenthal to take that bow tie and spin it around and spin him right out of here. But I remember he was like, oh, yeah, sure. The Phillies bullpen and the lineup, that's Joe Girardi's fault. But, oh, yeah, firing him's going to turn the season around. And my reaction was sometimes just having a new voice in the clubhouse, we've seen it over and over and over in many sports where bringing somebody new in gives new energy to the team. That's what happened with Rob Thomson when they replaced Joe Girardi. I'm just saying that, I'm not saying that Rob Thompson's going to get whacked or he should get whacked, but this team's playing like they could use some type of an energy insert because they don't have a lot of moves they can do right now. The players are the players. For everybody that wants them to make trades right now, get another outfielder, get another reliever, get another this guy. You don't do that right now. Who are you getting? They need something right now. I don't know exactly what it is, but man, they need something right now. And playing a couple of bad teams, it'll make fans feel better. It may make them feel better. But ultimately, is it going to make this team better? And I don't know. This is the same team that I saw falter the last 2 years. I've seen no reason to believe that this offense is any different than what we've seen the last 2 years. Tyler, agree or disagree on that?
I think what you've seen so far will tell you that that's true. And you brought up at the beginning of the show, they're going to go through a stretch. I know that it will happen because I think they're too talented not to, at least on the onset. They're going to go through a stretch where they win 10 of 12 or something like that, and they're averaging 6 runs a game over that span. And it'll kind of give a little bit of life, a little bit of a buoy to this team and the way the fans perceive them. They are a peaks and valleys team, and right now they are offensively in a valley, and there's no question about it. But I think that there is merit to say, they did, again, run it back for the most part. And again, I'm going to continue to harp on it like they didn't have a lot of options, but it can be frustrating for a lot of fans to say, you guys floundered at the second half of the season last year. You floundered in the NLCS in games 6 and 7 against the Diamondbacks, and now your offensive output the last 2 nights has been really lifeless. I think there's merit to it. I can't deny it.
How's a JT extension looking through?
I think it's going to be necessary. They don't have any other options.
How about not extending them?
Well, and because then you're starting to talk about it. Is Marchand an everyday catcher? Are you just going to go get are you getting a journeyman until Tait's ready? Is Tait going to be ready anytime? Kid's 19 years old.
I Tait's not ready. He had a 5th home run last night. But Tait is not ready. The The problem is you're so friggin' pot committed with this team. So now you're extending Schwarber, which you have to do. I love Schwarber. You're extending Real Muto too?
Yeah, I think you have to.
Any other old guys they can bring back? I mean, Jesus Christ. All right. The Sanchez thing just was not what I needed last night.
Yeah, I think when you talk about extensions and re-signings, to me the offseason and we're a million years away from that, but the offseason looks like this. Schwarber re-signs, JT re-signs, Ranger walks, Luzardo gets an extension. Those are your big moves, internally at least.
Yeah, they need to bring Luzardo back long term. All right, so let's talk about better things coming up here. Because you know where we're going. We're going to Fran, the man with the master plan. Fran Duffy, PHLY Eagles analyst and ALLCITY Network's draft guru. He already put it last week. If you remember when he was on the program, he said, you know what's coming out? My monster mock draft. He's got the Eagles mocked. He's got the rest of the NFL mocked. Who does he have the Eagles selecting? Better chance. Do they trade up? Do they trade back? Do they stand pat? Everything and then more with Fran Duffy coming up right after this. 2-2, we're back. Philly, John Marks. Man, damn it, you're crazy if you go anywhere. You want to hear this coming up. It's going to be good stuff. All right, Rothman. Let's talk about Rothman. And you're crazy if you're in pain and you're not going to Rothman. Let me just tell you something. I can speak from experience because I'm the numbnuts that had a bad shoulder for a year and didn't do anything about it. Googling what I think it is. I mean, I kind of diagnosed what it was, but I was worried about, MRI and maybe it's going to be a labrum. So finally made an appointment, went to Rothman. A very simple one. I had one appointment with the Rothman doc. And by the way, each body part at Rothman, they have a team. They specialize in it, right? So each doctor's laser focused on your particular body part, right? So went, had the consultation. Pretty easy. It's you don't need an MRI. You can have a cortisone shot if you want, but you have a frozen shoulder. Well, a frozen shoulder, what does that mean? All right, so here's the script. 6 weeks of physical therapy. If it's still giving you problems after that, then come back and we'll discuss some other options, but I think that'll take care of it. So 6 weeks of physical therapy, and I did it right at Rothman in Limerick because they have an urgent care there. They have their regular office, and it's huge, and then they have physical therapy. Bang! Done. Haven't been back since. Shoulder has been great since. That's Rothman Orthopedics. So obviously if you break your leg or you have major trauma, but orthopedic oncology, sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehab, hand and wrist, foot and ankle, shoulder and elbow, spine, knee, hip, they do it all. And they have 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. Rothman serves the community like nobody else. All right? Get with them now. For over 50 years, Rothman has been the best, specializing in orthopedics and you. Visit RothmanOrtho.com, PHLY, to learn more and to make an appointment today. RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY. Why? All right. GLAT Hair Restoration. And if you're a sufferer of hair loss, and you don't want to shave your head. Black Grady shaves his head. It looks great. A lot of our viewers, our listeners shave their head. Looks great. It's fine, right? But if you don't, and maybe you're getting the hairstyle differently, you go to the barber and you get the hairstyle differently, right? And you're getting it cut shorter or whatever. These are all things that you can do. Here's another thing you can do. GLAT Hair Restoration. And it's not just about restoration. It's about innovation. I mean, look at that before picture. Look at the front with that. It looks like they took a Trident gum. And they took it right off of there. Tyler's laughing, but that's what it looks like, right? And then you have the receding hairline. And I'm still a handsome man, but you can see the hair. And look at the after picture. I'm holding my daughter, Bella, in the picture. I mean, that picture doesn't lie. So you can go on Instagram and see these ads that are nonsense with the guy with the great head of hair without the before picture. That's my before and after picture. GLAT Hair Restoration. And it's not just about restoration. It's about innovation. So if you're starting to lose your hair, before it gets too bad, before you lose more hair, GLAT Hair Restoration, the experts in hair, it's all they do, over 30 years of industry experience. Stop it before it starts. Don't let it recede anymore. If you're thinning, if you're balding, all stages of hair loss, damn it. GLAT Hair Restoration. Their website, GLATHairMM.com. More before and after pictures, like me, A lot of great information. You can reach out to me as well, as many people have on my socials. You can slide into my DMs and say hello. JONMARKS Media, John Marks Media. That's also my email at gmail.com. Or you want to text them or call them. GLAT Hair Restoration, you can speak to their hair team. 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000. GLATHairMM.com. Hoo-ah! Who are the Eagles going to draft at 32? Ha-ha-ha-ha! Hoo-ah! I have no idea. My guess would be they trade out of 32 as they have a number of targets they believe they can get early in that second round. They pick up an additional draft pick to discuss all of that. He's our guru. He has his monster mock draft that's up. It's a good reason to be a diehard. Go to allphly.com. The best Eagles coverage in the business. I'll put it up there with anybody with our team. Fran Duffy joins us right now. What's up, Franny?
Johnny Marks, what's happening, man?
So what is it for you on draft eve? What's the feeling? Well, first of all, when you worked for the Eagles, what was it like being around NovaCare every day? What was the buzz? What was the talk? What was that like working for the Eagles and you're leading up to the draft?
Yeah, it's a feeling of excitement, right? Because you know that no matter what, like, the team is going to get better the next day. And obviously there's a lot of excitement, a lot of anxiety, like positive anxiety, just kind of waiting and waiting and waiting. Draft day itself was always one of the longest days. And we always, for the last few years, we put on like big productions, in my department. So that was always fun, just kind of getting all the bells and whistles ready and just making sure all the information was, right before we went to air. But no, it's always a fun day. It's always a fun week. And I'm excited for this one because it's going to be very unpredictable tomorrow night. Well,
and we'll get into that in a second, but just thinking about last year's draft, and getting Quinyon Mitchell, which was awesome. But the video that you guys put out afterwards of Jeffrey Lurie literally with a puke bucket because he wants Cooper DeJean so bad. And they're trying to figure a way, like, how are we going to get up? And then the Rams don't take him. And then Jeff's like, oh, and Howie's on the phone with Washington, and they're able to trade up. And it's so cool to see that moment. And then you watch the Super Bowl, and your first two picks in the draft are like, you can't even say making an impact. I mean, Jesus, Fran, unbelievable. And like when you had the bad drafts, then you don't think of those moments. But last year, the Eagles, the impact they had from their first three picks is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, this group looks like it'll be one of the better draft classes in recent Eagles history, right? And we can go back to that 2018 class where you had the Dallas Goedert and Mailata and Josh Sweat, Avonte Maddox. That was a really strong group. I don't know that you'll ever be able to beat that 2000. What was it, the 2002 group where it was you had the two corners, you had you had Brian Westbrook. So I mean that's an all-time class. But I think when you're looking at this group, their early payouts have been very, very strong, and you hope that they can continue to develop that way.
All right. The Eagles have a pick in round one in round two, one in round three, one in round four, and then four picks in round five. Everybody would agree that there's no way that Howie stands pat. He trades up, he trades back, he gets additional picks, he moves back up in rounds. Your best guess right now, and we don't know how the draft board's going to play out, obviously. What do you think the Eagles do with that first pick, number 32 overall?
My gut, I say like most likely possibility is probably trade back, but I think that everything's on the table. A lot of this week and the latter stages of last week is just calls with people around the league and, just trying to get a sense of the lay of the land, right? Well, what are people hearing? A flow of information. I was on the phone with somebody late last night and they said, oh, like the Eagles are having conversations with people in the middle of round one about, the ability to move up. But there's also, that's what Howie Roseman's doing. That's what all general managers are doing right now. I was just reading a report, I think it was from Jeremy Fowler from ESPN, saying the same thing about Nick Castellanos and the Houston Texans. You're going to have conversations about moving up. You're going to have conversations about moving back. And it's all about what is the price going to look like? Can we iron out major details now? And then when we're on the clock, we can finalize it, that kind of situation. But all of it is predicated on, is my guy going to fall? Is my guy going to be there, in that kind of situation? So that's what Howie Roseman's been doing over the last few days, making those calls about moving up, moving back. But if I had to say, percentage-wise, what do I think is going to happen tomorrow night? I would say, 50% move up, move back, 30% stay put, 20% move up. Yeah, that would be the way I would look at it. But I think everything's on the table.
This draft has been described by many outside of the first 5, 4, 5, 6 picks or whatever, the top of the draft. Maybe 10 and 32 are very, very similar. And depending on the team, a team might like a player better at 32 than is drafted at 10. We saw Nolan Smith fall all the way down to 30, and they were looking at him earlier in the draft, and look at the value you got right there. So with this particular draft, is where the Eagles, where they are, is that a good spot for them? Because as far as positional value and value in the draft, some team might feel like a player that goes 32, they would have drafted him at 10. So as far as what you're looking at in this draft, like, is it a good spot where the Eagles are right now?
Yeah, I think it is a good spot. It's certainly better than some other teams that are kind of stuck in that no man's land situation where maybe the value isn't right. I would say, it goes back to what we said earlier with the Eagles, having those conversations about moving up. Let's say, if they wanted to move up to 19 or to 20, right? That would be a sizable leap. That would be about as far as I would expect that they would be able to jump in this draft. You're only doing that if it's this situation did not work out in the Eagles' favor, but a situation where you have Andre Dillard rated as a top 10, top 12 type of talent in the draft, and he falls into the latter stages where, he's the last player on this tier. We evaluate him this way. We can make this move up. Let's go do it. Whereas look at last year where you had Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, a bunch of guys that were all kind of grouped together and they're sliding as a group down the board. Well, now you don't need to make that leap because, all right, well, one of those guys is going to fall to us. So you kind of have to let the board play to you that way. And you hit the nail on the head when you're looking at a class like this. While everybody on the outside, we're looking at it, say, all right, well, there's not a big difference between player 10 and player 40. For teams, who is in that top 10 is going to differ from team to team. And so if that one player that's left over is the one that's falling, well, that can motivate a move up the board.
All right, the Fran Duffy monster mock draft. And maybe this has changed because this was released after you were on with us last week. So you had the Eagles taking Nick Castellanos. Now, you have additional intelligence. As you said, you've been talking to people. Has your opinion changed on who the Eagles may be selecting? And tell us a little bit about Nick Castellanos.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at Nick Scorton,
the
passer, no problem. So when you're looking at Scorton, the pass rusher from A&M, kind of a tale of two tapes. Last year Texas A&M was solid but unspectacular. The year before, as a sophomore, he led the Big Ten in sacks. He was a 265-pound true sophomore defensive end for Purdue. He had double-digit sacks. His pressure rate was outstanding. He held up pretty well against the run. So he enters the transfer portal and he says, you know what? I've got the ability to make myself not just a top 20 pick, but a top 10 pick. If I can go to a bigger program, beef up, get bigger, stronger against the run. So he goes to Texas A&M. He adds on about 20 pounds to his frame. I'm gonna be honest, John, it didn't look great. You can kind of see it early on in the season. He lost a little bit of juice off the ball. He was not moving as well. The production got cut in half. The efficiency numbers, the pressure rates, the win rates, all that stuff got cut in half. And so that kind of affected his draft stock, where a lot of people viewed him as a top 20, top 25 pick coming into the year. Well, now he kind of lost some of that shine. And I still kind of like the film. He's a great kid. He doesn't turn 21 until later this summer. So one of the younger players in this draft class. So Nick Scorton, I think when you get into the latter stages of round one, I think that is good value. Spoiler, Zach Berman and I did a mock draft, a live mock draft yesterday on the PHLY Eagles show. We ended up with Scorton with the 32nd pick as the Eagles selection there. So I do think it's viable. He was in the building last week. He was one of the Eagles' last 30 visits before the draft. He posted a picture on social media of him with Brandon Graham in the weight room. That's how we got tipped off to that. So I think when you're looking at Scorton, he would make some sense. I would say the highest he goes is probably like the late 20s. You look at like Baltimore or something like that. I think he could fit there. So I don't think the value's crazy at the end of round one.
And you in your mock draft, you have them trading back to 36 and getting a 4th round draft pick in return. We've talked about tight ends a lot in the last few weeks, and you keep going back to Elijah Arroyo from Miami. In your mock, you have him going to the Eagles in the 2nd round. It's an obvious need, especially if most of us expect them to trade or move off of Dallas Goedert. Arroyo, what are we talking about? An athletic tight end, better pass catcher than run blocker?
Yeah, decent run blocker. He's not dominant. He's not what Dallas is, but I would say he's better than what Grant Calcaterra gives you, right? So he kind of checks the box. Is not going to be a mauler there, but does just enough for you. Maybe like akin to what Zach Ertz was, at his peak. I think Arroyo has the ability to get even better than that. So, but he's a more dynamic straight line athlete than what Ertz was. So I think when you're looking at Arroyo, that would be good value there at 64. Yeah, I think between he and Mason Taylor, those are those round 2 options that you'd be looking at for the Eagles. It does feel like Mason Taylor might go latter stages of round 1. I've heard as high as 22 to the Chargers, potentially to the LA Rams there in the first round. And so there's a wide range of opinions there on Taylor, the tight end from LSU. But Arroyo is, to me, a more dynamic player, a guy that I'm a little bit higher on personally at the position.
If you want to see the rest of his Eagles-only mock draft, which is included in the Monster Mock Draft, he does every pick for every team in the draft. Definitely get to allphly.com. If you're not a diehard, you should become a diehard, because I'm just forget about like all of our sports. We kill it. The Eagles coverage is unbelievable, and we're draft day tomorrow. You have them taking a 6'8" tackle from Iowa State, Jalen Travis, and then you have Jalen Reed from Penn State, a safety. And what is the one position that the Eagles can't leave this draft without addressing? And I don't know if you have a great answer for it, because they're very deep. But what would you think the Eagles are looking at as outside of best player available, which we know is the company line? Like, where do they need to address, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that adding a safety at some point just feels like a lock, right? Just you move on from C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They didn't really go out and add anybody on the veteran market to replace him. They went out and they added a couple of tight ends on cheap deals. They added a corner, Dory Jackson. They added offensive linemen. So, if they had to line up and play tomorrow, they could. And I think that is the case at safety. I don't think that they're barren there, but because you're getting Sidney Brown back from injury. But that said, I do think that I would be a little bit surprised if they didn't come out of this draft with a safety. I think they definitely want to add some kind of tackle versatility there. Someone that can come in and offer swing versatility at that spot. Tight end is another one where I do expect that they're going to address it. But that's the beauty of the way that Howie Roseman approaches free agency, is that, we're gonna add all of these safety valves in here where we won't be forced to make a pick. And that's why he doesn't want to be backed into a corner, and I think that is going to play to their advantage here tomorrow night. Man,
not that long ago we were talking about how he is reaching in the draft and caught with his pants down and everything else. I mean, they've really figured out this draft process. All right, let's end with the top of the first round before we get out of here. Cam Ward, everybody expects to go number 1. Would you be shocked if Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter didn't go 2 and 3?
Yeah, I've heard, behind that, I was on the phone last night. I think that the rumors that we've heard about Cleveland potentially dealing out, it's on the table, but I would say they're more likely they are going to stay put and take Travis Hunter. It sounds like the Giants will stay put, take Abdul Carter. And then we'll see. I think New England, it feels like most likely going to stay put and take Will Campbell, the offensive lineman from LSU. And then things get nuts at 5 with Jacksonville, and just how that plays out. It looks like that's going to be an offensive player. I predicted Ashton Genty in my mock last week. It sounds like it could be an offensive lineman. It could be a pass catcher. Maybe it's the Penn State tight end Tyler Warren. But I think when you're looking at the Jaguars, I would expect it's going to be an offensive player.
The whole Cleveland thing, and like Andrew Berry, their GM, of course he should be taking phone calls. But for me, if I was running the team, to go from, Travis Hunter seems like is he the biggest lock in this draft to at the next level to be a Pro Bowl type player, whether it's offense, defense, or both? I like Abdul Carter. I'm a little bit worried about the injury thing. So you're trading out of 2 to go back in the first round. Okay, so great, you're getting additional draft picks. But what if those additional draft picks don't work out either? This is a lock. You may have a generational or certainly an impact player from year 1. I would not trade out of 2 unless you were offering me so many draft picks that I couldn't say no.
And that's why I think it will take a king's ransom to get them off that spot. The only thing I would say is, this is a team that is not enthralled with this quarterback class. They're going to take one on day 2, Cleveland. But if you're going to say, hey, we're going to give you a boatload of ammunition, not just for this year, but next year, to really give you the ability to just draft whatever quarterback you want and really kickstart this rebuild, that would be the only thing that would get me to move off that spot. But, outside of that, I think they stay put, and I think they take Travis Hunter.
How many quarterbacks are selected in the first round? Possible one?
I think that it's I think there's a good chance it's only one, man. I do. When we left the combine, that was my big the takeaway from that is that I think Shedeur Sanders was going to fall further than we thought, and it became a thing of all right. Well, could it be Pittsburgh or somebody else? That has kind of picked up steam over the last few weeks. I don't think he's a Steeler. I don't think he's a Saint. So it's a matter now of are one of these teams at the back or the front end of round 2 going to trade up to Minnesota at 24, trade up, the Eagles, could be hoping that somebody trades up to their spot at 32 to get ahead of Cleveland at 33. I think that's a more likely possibility, but that's going to be one of the big storylines tomorrow night.
So Ward's your number 1 quarterback. Who's your top 5 quarterbacks in the draft?
Yeah, for me personally, I would say that it's going to be Ward. Then I would say it's a tier break. Shedeur Sanders, I think, has the ability to be a solid backup. I just think it'll take some time. I like Tyler Shuck, the quarterback from Louisville, and Jalen Milroe. To me, they're on the same tier as not developmental types, but risky propositions with ceilings as starting quarterbacks. If you told me Tyler Shuck was the best quarterback from this class 4 years from now, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think he's going to be a world beater, but a Kirk Cousins level starter, I think is definitely on the table there for Tyler Shuck. I really like Milroe's, his upside overall. And then I just think there's another tier break. I'm not a Jackson Dart guy personally. I know that there are people out there that are, but I think then you get to these guys are more likely backups. So you get Jackson Dart, Riley Leonard, Will Howard from Ohio State. Right. I think all those guys are kind of clustered in, and you can throw them into a cup, mix them up, and throw one at the board, and I'm fine with him at QB5.
Come on, Bo, Jackson Dart, gotta love him. You know what it is? It's some of it's the name. It's just such a great name, Jackson Dart. You can just throwing darts all over the field.
No question. Hey, look, the guy put up huge numbers in that offense, but I wasn't moved by it in the fall, in the sun. Going back to last summer when I studied him from 2023. I saw a guy that I thought at best you're talking about a backup quarterback, and honestly, there are a lot of scouts that I spoke with felt the same way. Going through the fall, going through the season, going down to the Senior Bowl, no one was saying anything about him going first round when we were in Mobile, right? It was once we got into February, that's when he could go early day 2. He could go into round 1, and now we're like top 10 buzz. It's jumped the shark to me with Jackson Dart. Yeah,
it's Will Levis buzz, which I find to be totally baloney. So I can't wait to see. That's what makes this whole process great. So what do we got going on? So you obviously have draft coverage tomorrow night, Friday night. I'm guessing in the Saturday. What's going on in the show today? What's going on PHLY Eagles show today?
Yeah, so myself and Zach Berman, we're going to be on the show today at 2 o'clock, PHLY Eagles show. We're going to have Eagles only 7-round mock drafts. So Zach and I are going to go back and forth, ping pong back and forth, rounds 1 through 7, and just say the ideal Eagles picks in those rounds. Zach's got his that he's dropping. I've got mine from last week, and we'll kind of go back and forth. Before that, on the site, I've got a mock draft that's going up this morning. That's kind of a crowdsourced mock draft, looking at a sample of all the top experts and just kind of projecting overall range of players, most likely players here, to go in each spot. That should go up here momentarily on allphly.com. I've got my final big board that's going to be dropping later today on allphly.com. My final mock draft with basically everything I'm hearing over the last 48 hours, that's dropping tomorrow morning on allphly.com. You've got to be a diehard to get all of that. And then obviously, as you said, we've got the draft coverage, myself, Bo Wolf, Zach Berman. We're going to be live wall-to-wall tomorrow, Thursday night, all through the draft. Friday, all through the rounds 2 and 3. And then we will be live rounds 4 through 7 as well, breaking down all the action, if not just with the Eagles, but obviously all 32 teams as well with an Eagles tilt. So, make sure you're tuning in and following along all throughout the weekend.
All right, and again, become a diehard. $36 for the first year. It's $3 a month. You kidding me? And you're getting the best coverage ever. Go have a glass of milk. Get some protein in you. You're gonna need it for the next couple days, man. Appreciate it.
I've got hard-boiled eggs next to me for the protein. I've got some. I'm chugging as much water as I can. I'm gonna try and see if I can take a nap in the middle of the day today. We'll see how that goes.
All right, Franny, you're the man. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right, there he is, Fran Duffy. Oh boy. Then what happens after the draft's over? I didn't want to ask him. We're running out of time.
Sleep for 3 straight days.
No, I know, but is it like the biggest? It's like, oh god. Now you got to put out the way too early mock draft.
2026 mock draft.
You know what my favorite part of that is? When they do it, and then you see the responses on social media. People are so angered. They're like, oh, really? You have to put out a mock draft? This is what they do for a living. What do you want them not to do it? It's what they're being asked to do. Yeah, of course they don't know who's going to be drafted, but that's what they're supposed to do. Just like, shut up. Leave them alone. They're mockers. You know, I should have been a professional mocker. Really, like if I had to go through it all again, being a professional mock drafter in the NFL would have been
the workload that you would have to take on to be successful at it, right? Not to just be some jabroni in his basement writing mock drafts. To be at Fran's level, to be at like Greg Cassell's level, man. The amount of work that you would do is insane.
Oh yeah,
these guys don't sleep.
No, yeah, right.
And it's why they're so good at their jobs. But they are so locked in all the time.
Franny is the best. We're going to come back with our BetParx Parlay of the day. And we have it's a viral video. And I think the reaction, Tyler and I had the same reaction, which was, what the hell is this? What are we watching right now? We'll play that. Eagles draft, Phillies leftovers, and more. That's coming up right after this. Philly. 2-2. We're back. All right, like, listen, man, it's just like I can't get enough of this draft talk, and but like even though I'm getting killed right now with our baseball team, you know, like you can always feel better about it, right? And then all you need is a win. Like right now with the BetParx Parlay of the day, we had a rough one last night. Two of the three legs won. I was the one that lost last night because I picked Chris Sanchez. Like, Chris Sanchez is not losing tonight. He gets injured. All right? But, listen, you can live bet, right? Live bet on baseball, golf, pro hoops. Playoffs are going on right now, hockey playoffs. Live betting's better on the BetParx app. That's right. You can bet individual player performances like player hits, home runs, RBI, strikeouts, and much more. The BetParx online sportsbook and casino app has you covered. So whether you're betting on Philadelphia baseball or how about your favorite online casino games, right? It's the only app I would ever use to do any of these things. How about live dealer blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, and hot online slots? And new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparx.com. Download the app right now. Enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. BetParx. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hooah! All right. It's that time of year. Tyler and I were talking before the show, and because my wife had mentioned to me, like, can we go to Ashley? Because we like the dining room table and the chairs. We probably had them for 12 years now. It's like we definitely need to upgrade. So we're looking to upgrade. My kids need new dressers for the bedroom set, right? So right now it's the perfect time to get to Ashley because the low prices are blooming. That's right. Spring in the savings at Ashley. Save up to 50% off living rooms, bedrooms, and dining rooms, and you can have it all delivered for FREE free. Plus, get long-term, no-interest financing, as I do, because I have no money. Save on top brand mattresses and get free delivery, setup, and removal. But don't wait. Spring into savings now at Ashley, South Jersey, and Philadelphia. Financing is with approved credit. Minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for complete details. Hurry to Ashley. Visit ashleyfurniture.com for more information. Hooah. We're back. What's up, everybody? All right. So yesterday, in the BetParx Parlay of the day, Tyler had the run line plus 1.5 on the Rangers, and they actually won the game outright.
Yeah, I should have just stuck with my initial bet was to take the money line, but I got a little bit chickened off of it, but we still get the win. But
it wouldn't have mattered because I lost. Black Gritty had the Lakers money line. They even covered, so he could have went with this point spread. They covered. But unfortunately, my love for Chris Sanchez and my want, probably not belief, my want was for the Phillies to beat the Mets last night. Because now you're staring down the barrel of a sweep, although Zach Wheeler's on the mound, which is a good thing. But so we lost last night. We're currently at, let me see here. We're still on the plus side because we went on a nice little run there, Tyler Zuli. We are currently at, I believe we're plus $52.
okay.
So let's get to it. Our BetParx Parlay of the day. All right, Zuli, you have the hot hand right now. So what do you got?
All right, so I am going to go to the Cardinals and Braves game today. And the pitching, I don't know if did you take a look at the pitching matchups today across baseball? Some really bad, really bad games. Wheeler and Peterson might be the best one, quite frankly. Multiple games that featured both guys with ERAs like in the 4s and the 5s, a couple guys in the 8s. I'm going to go to the Cardinals and the Braves. These two teams have the 23rd and 21st ranked team ERAs in baseball this year. Miles Michaelis is on the mound for the Cardinals at a 7.6. Bryce Elder is on the mound for the Braves at a 7.2. So I am going to go to the total runs scored today, and I'm going to buy it down by a half a run because right now it's sitting at 9, and I don't like that flat number. So I'm going to buy it down from 9 to 8.5 on the total runs, and I can get over 8.5 at minus 125. So far this year, the Cardinals have gone over 8.5 in 13 of their 24 games. The Braves have gone over 8.5 13 of their 23 games. So I'm going to take the over 8.5 in that game with two starting pitchers who have not been very good this year.
All right. Over 8.5 minus 125. All right. Like I'm going down with the ship. Phillies get swept today. Man, even though it's going to be draft day tomorrow, I may not be able to come in. I just might be that down. Phillies are minus 120 on the money line today, and that's because Zach Wheeler. I mean, they were also favorite last night in the game, and then Chris Sanchez came out and was gone by the third inning. But I'm going to take the Phils minus 120. David Peterson he's fine, but isn't this the game that the offense needs to break out? And they lose 2 of 3, but you still feel a little bit better because they were able to salvage the series. So I'm gonna, God, man. I just it's one of these things where you're going to a game and it's like, you know what, I'm betting the home team because if they lose, I'll be miserable. If they win, it'll be the best day ever. So I'm gonna go Phillies minus 120. So Phillies and the over-run line for Tyler and the Braves and the Cardinals, a $50 bet will pay you right now on BetParx do the math real fast. 116. So 50 for 116. All right? And if we lose, we'll only be up $2. There you go.
That sounds like my bet slips in real life. Did you ever get the end of year report from Parks?
Yeah, and you don't want to look at it?
Yeah,
sure.
well, it's like you get the end of year report from Parks and it's like you bet $400 and you won $406. And it's like, so I won $6 this year?
Hey,
is what you're telling me?
I always believed when I would play blackjack, right? If I'm even or even up $20, or even down $20, if you're hanging out playing blackjack with your friends and drinking and having a good time, then it was worth the $20 that you lost. Or any kind of money that you win to me was always a bonus.
So when you because I feel the same way, but like if you go and especially when you're with your buddies or you're hanging out or whatever, do you have a moment where you go, okay, I'm up enough, it's time to leave?
No.
Because for me, it's like if I'm up like $200 or $150, I'm probably walking away. So
if you're staying, I think you can walk away. Like for example, last time I went to Vegas, in the first hour, I went down and played at the table. I was up $2,200 playing blackjack.
Time to walk away.
And I walked away. And I was like, I will take $1,000 and I will put another $1,000. I'm walking home with $1,200. And I walked home with $1,200 because I lost the rest of the money. I gambled some money at the sports book. I lost some money in black. Like when I make that much money, that's when I go to the roulette table and I'm like, I just spread it all out.
$50 on 000.
Have fun. Yeah, you have fun. But when I used to do day trips, me and my buddy, the Schneid, who now he lives in Los Angeles, but we used to go down to the old resorts that's no longer in business, or we would do the Hilton because the Hilton would give us really good, like we would eat for free. And if we win $300 in the first 20 minutes, we would just drive home.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And like if I would, we would win. Like we would first shoe, sit down, boom, 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 boom. We're up $300. We kind of look at each other and be like, yeah, let's just drive home. And we would go eat lunch or whatever and go home, and we had $300. So we kind of looked at it as a business transaction. But if I'm going to Parks for a night, I mean, if I'm up $200, I'm probably not leaving.
Yeah, I think that the one where you're saying about Vegas, it's a great, because then you come home and regardless of what else happens, no matter what else happens on that trip, you come home, you go, hey, I'm up $1,200. Everybody goes, oh, nice week.
Right.
Nice weekend. Well done. You know, Vegas didn't get you.
Didn't get
and
me.
it doesn't matter that you could say you lost the other 1,000, but you go up $1,200. I mean, you leave Vegas victorious, get the heck out of there.
Oh yeah, like and honestly, like I had won more money, but like we went to, it was my buddy's bachelor party. I bought a bottle,
buy a steak. And,
I bought a bottle when we went out or
Right.
whatever. Like I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I have it. Let me spend it or whatever. Yeah, I still came home with $1,200. It was like, you get the like, hey, I'm gonna have the tomahawk. I don't care.
Right, you're getting the Wagyu filet or whatever.
Oh God, Whew. I could go for a high end steak like at the Parks Grill Steakhouse right now. I am so freaking hungry. All right, so oftentimes, I mean, there's so many different viral videos that you've seen over the years, and you forget about them until you see them again. And you're like, oh, I remember that. But do you remember when they found these poor women that were kidnapped and were living in this guy's house in Cleveland? And there was this guy that was outside, and he goes, "Dead giveaway. That's a dead giveaway." So anytime that you get a reporter that goes out there and is interviewing people, just regular commenters on the street, you never know what's going to happen. That's what happened in Australia. So there was a carjacking in, I lost the story because I didn't do it. Let me type it in right here. It is Twins, Australia. Let's just put it up there. All right, so there was a carjacking incident in Queensland where one of the news reporters went out and was trying to like get information or whatever on what was going on. And meet Bridget and Paula Powers, who's being asked about this carjacking. That, by the way, happened on Steve Irwin Way. Go figure. And here's how it sounded on 7 News Queensland, as you have the reporter that introduces the segment. And wait till you get a kick of these twins. Here you go.
When the carjacked SUV rolled on Steve Irwin Way, only to find the gun-wielding car thief emerging from the wreck. Here's some of what they had to say.
And one guy, he was up there with our mum, and he went up there, and he was coming back down towards us, and he goes, "Run, he's got a gun."
All right, can you pause it real fast? We'll get back to it. So our audio-only people, our podcast people, they cut to these 2 women that are wearing, what's the outfit they're wearing?
I almost want to venture to say they might be scrubs.
It looks like stuff. So they're bunny-covered shirts.
Yeah, and maybe it's just Easter shirts.
Might be Easter
But
things.
to me, like, my initial thought was maybe they're nurses or doctors or something, and it's scrubs. But
They
maybe
do look like scrubs.
Maybe it is just Easter attire.
So just like an 11-year-old set of twins that you went to school with that wore the same clothes all the time, these women, and what did we say? They're in their late 40s, early 50s, maybe mid-40s?
40s or 50s, yeah.
Okay. And if you're they're just talking in unison. Yeah, here it is. Go ahead.
I started to pound, and I said, "Oh, Mum, where's Mum?" And poor Mum was stuck up there, but apparently our brave Mum, she goes, "Are you all right?" Because he had all blood all over his face. And he goes, "I'll shoot you." She goes, "Hey, I'm here to help." And Mum distracting him to make him look the other way, and he looked the other way, and Mum ran into the bush behind the fence. And the guy goes to her, "I'll find you and I'll shoot you." All I was thinking about when we were running, I hope he doesn't fire.
Watching it again, is that a bit? That's got to be a bit.
So
There's no way that they would be able to talk like that in unison. Because it sounds like there's like a little bit of an, like, not an echo, but like there's 2 tracks that are off by like a hair. No, they're saying the same things. That's got to be a bit.
I mean,
I know how you practice for a bit. You don't know that a reporter's coming out to ask questions.
Yeah, like obviously there is that twin, like almost like twin telepathy thing. It is real. But there were a couple of times where it almost felt like one of them was about to say something, the other was going to use a different phrasing, and then they changed their word at the last second to match the other one. There was a couple of times I noticed that where they were trying to say, it almost felt like they were trying to say the same thing. So
you agree that it's a bit?
I'm not sure it was a bit, but it's a strange newscast, that's for sure.
By the way, shout out to everybody watching on TV. Get on over to allphly.com because this is overtime. There you go. I'm going to have to. So they were interviewed in 2021 for the ABC News in Australia, and I guess it was the same. I don't know. That was another. So apparently there were other twins that did something similar, like that were kids, and I mean I don't know. I'm not a twin. I don't know if that's crazy to me. I don't know. I just don't understand how you would be able to do it if that wasn't like a rehearsed bit. Like it was Saturday Night Live I was watching. The whole get up with the bunny scrubs and just what they look like. Is that a trailer in the background too? The hell is that? Australia's a wild place, man. I got to go. I mean, wild.
Yeah, and as you pointed out too, Steve Irwin Way is the name of the street that it happened.
Yes. There was a carjacking on Steve Irwin Way. Good night, folks. All right, everybody. Is Ant in today? I know Anthony's been under the weather.
All right, so the Twins, here's some news on them. They run Twinnies Pelican and Seabird Rescue. So it looks like they have been saving seabirds for almost 20 years. That's what they do. So I guess maybe they are scrubs, but they're more, they're not, they're like
doctors,
they're veterinarian, wildlife rescue type of
Oh, that's nice though. Don't let it. Hopefully, they don't run into a stingray like Steve Irwin. I love Steve Irwin, man. I used to watch all of his stuff back in the day. Oh, crikey! All right, switch on over to Ant. We have draft day tomorrow, which is awesome. Can't wait. Phil's again today. I mean, damn it, get a win today. Please get a win. Please get a win. Please get a win. Are you doing a post game today, Tyler? What do you got going on PHLY Phillies?
So actually, we're going to do like kind of a pseudo pregame. So normally on a Wednesday, well, at least up until this point, we've done the pre-recorded stuff. But game's at 1:10 today, and we figured why not do a pregame show? So 12:30, we're going to go live, do a 20, 25-minute pregame show, talk about last night's game, talk about today's game. Talk about we did a post-game show last night, so it'll be a lot of the same conversation because they haven't played again yet. But we're going to do a pregame show today beginning at 12:30.
Oh, yeah, you're going to do a pregame show bitching about the team from last night.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I would do.
Pretty much.
All right, can't wait for that. Everybody, good chat today. Very lively chat. Shout out to you guys. Again, every day, 8 a.m., Philly with John Marks. Watch the show live. Chat with the show. If you can't watch it live, you can listen to the audio-only podcast. Search Philly with John Marks wherever you get your podcasts. Or you can watch on YouTube wherever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want. Just like and subscribe. Comment on what we're talking about. Get involved in the show. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you tomorrow live at 8 a.m. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.